Ragini was sitting in a meeting. The discussion started. Someone introduced a problem. Ragini's face absolutely lit up. She had a great idea. She didn't have a vague thought, a sharp one, clear, insightful, and the kind of idea that could actually move the conversation forward. Ragini told herself, "That's a good point. I'm going to say that." But she didn't say it immediately because someone started speaking. So she waited. She listened. She was polite and she was a professional. She thought, let them finish. I'll speak next. But then another person jumped in. Then someone added another comment. Someone opened a slide. And suddenly the discussion moved somewhere else. That moment passed. That meeting ended. And Ragini walked out thinking, I had the best idea in that room. If only I had spoken. But my turn never came. Hello, is it like passing the parcel? Are you always supposed to get a turn? And does this happen to you? Do you keep sitting and waiting in meetings, waiting for your turn, which never comes? And nobody really knows the genius idea you had in your head, but you didn't speak it, so nobody knows. If this happens to you, believe you me, you're in the right place at the right time. I'm going to solve this problem for you once and for all and show you how to win that spotlight, how to grab the moment and prove to others that you are the star you really are. All this and much more in this episode. Let's roll. Trust me, this waiting for your turn happens to more professionals than you think. In fact, I used to experience this myself. I would sit in meetings with senior leaders and I was trying to be polite. I listened very carefully, I used to think deeply, and inside my head, I had those great ideas. There were moments where I thought, that's the answer, that's the real issue, I know it. But I kept waiting for that perfect opening, that perfect pause, that perfect turn to speak. And by the time that moment arrived, the conversation had already moved on. Sometimes even the meeting had ended, or someone said something similar to what was in my head, but even less clearly. And I would walk away thinking, if only I'd said it earlier. At least the boss would notice me. But part of the problem is that many of us grew up in environments where communication worked very differently. Think about school. You raised your hand. When you raised your hand, you waited. You waited till the teacher called your name and then you spoke. But in real life, in the corporate world, in any part of life, it doesn't work that way. Especially meetings don't work like that. They're more like fast moving rivers. Ideas flow quickly. People interrupt. Conversations change direction in a second. And if you wait for that perfectly organized turn, you might wait forever. Many thoughtful professionals fall into something I called, and I fell in that myself, the politeness trap. They think, I shouldn't interrupt. It's not nice. Let others finish. That's the way it has to be. My turn will come. Now, politeness is good, okay? I'm a personal advocate of politeness. But excessive politeness, it has cost me a lot. And believe you me, in meetings, that can make you invisible. Meetings don't reward the person with the best idea. They reward the person who introduces the idea into the conversation. And if you've listened to the previous episodes, I shared how your career depends on these meetings. That's where the growth in your career happens. It doesn't happen in presentations. It happens when you say that clear idea in that meeting and make everyone notice you. That idea inside your head, no matter how brilliant, has zero impact if it stays inside your head. I remember a meeting years ago when something interesting happened. It was early in my career. We were discussing some marketing strategy. People were debating different tactics, advertising, promotion, distribution. But something about the conversation didn't feel right to me. I was a little confused, and inside my head, I kept thinking, why are we talking about a solution? We've not even agreed on the real problem. But people went on, and I had this thought within the first 5 minutes, but I waited. I thought, let them finish. 10 minutes passed, 15 minutes passed. I was just getting impatient, and thankfully, I really thanked myself. Thankfully, I spoke, and I said something like, can I step back for a moment? I think we're discussing solutions before agreeing on the real problem. And suddenly the room went quiet. People paused, and someone said, actually, that's a good point. We haven't talked about the real problem. My line manager, who I really wanted to hear my genius comment, had a Zoom meeting that he was running late for, and by the time my comment came, like 15 minutes later, his AirPods were already in his ears, and I knew I had missed the opportunity. Because in meetings, timing is half the power of an idea. A great idea introduced early can shape the discussion. The same idea introduced late may be ignored. Not because it's bad, but because the conversation has already moved forward way ahead and you're left in that trap waiting for your turn. Meetings are like trains. If you miss the train where your idea belongs, the train keeps moving. In the next leg, I'm sharing an extremely dangerous belief most professionals carry in their heads without realizing it's just a myth. Over the years, I've coached many professionals who say something heartbreaking. They say, I know I have good ideas, I just don't say them in time. And what happens then? People around them begin to underestimate them. Not intentionally, but naturally. Because in professional environments, people can only judge the thinking they hear. They cannot see the thinking inside your head. You may be the smartest person in the room, but if your ideas remain internal, your reputation remains average. I'll speak when my turn comes. That's a dangerous belief many professionals carry in this idea. But meetings rarely assign turns. The conversation belongs to whoever contributes to it. That doesn't mean interrupting, but it means learning to enter the conversation while it's alive. Sometimes that entry can be simply saying, can I add something here? Before we move on, there's one thought I wanted to share. Don't interrupt, add value with that comment because those small phrases create space and that space allows your idea to enter the room. Here's a rule that has helped many professionals change their presence in meetings. If you have a useful idea, don't wait for the perfect moment. Create a small moment. You don't need a long speech. Often, one clear sentence with permission is a good idea. Can I quickly share an observation? Say something as simple as that. That simple line signals that you have something useful. You've already given it that value. And most rooms will naturally give you those few seconds. Your goal in the meeting is not to speak a lot, but to insert clarity in the right moment. And when you do, people start associating you with clear thinking, and that reputation goes far beyond the meeting room. So, the next time you're sitting in a meeting and a good idea appears in your mind, don't put in a mental waiting room. Because ideas move fast, conversations change direction, and by the time your turn arrives, the moment may already be gone, and that idea inside your head may feel powerful, but if not spoken, it is not going to change your career. Something that could shape the entire conversation when spoken at the right moment would not happen if you don't enter that conversation with that right comment without waiting for your turn. If this episode of Communicate 101 reminded you of a meeting where you thought, I had something brilliant to say, if only I said it, share this episode with someone who might need it. If you or your team have a pain point in your communication, something that really bothers you, something which you've not been able to find a solution for, feel free to connect with me. You can schedule a call with me on Communicate 101. Very shortly, I'm unveiling a masterclass in confidence building. I'm going to make the announcement here on this podcast. And if you haven't subscribed, you might as well just do it now. You can also follow me on Communicate 101 on Instagram. In the next episode, we are talking about another fascinating problem and we are solving it right here, right now. Thank you for listening to this episode of Communicate 101 Speaking Writing Tips with Sarika Singh. If you want to be notified of upcoming episodes, be sure to hit the subscribe button and follow the podcast. I'll be back to share more stories, more life experiences, and more communication tips every Friday. If you want to reach me or connect with me, just put your comments in the comment box below or mail me at info@sarikasingh.in. I know you're going to rate and review this podcast, so a big thank you in advance. Stay tuned and think about what we talked today.